What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
If you guys are new to this podcast, please subscribe and follow us on all the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube for one, and then we got Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio. So if you guys are new, please make sure to follow us. We upload every Thursday. And thank you guys for following our whole journey on this podcast. This is, I think, episode 16, which is... I can't believe we're already this far. That's 16 weeks in.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like it at all.
Yeah. So on this episode, before I get to the episode, I was admiring your pants.
Oh.
You look like you're about to snowboard.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to. I'm pretty comfortable.
It's about to get snowy here in Vegas. All right. So on this episode, we're going to talk about getting married on a budget. We've been married for 11 years.
11. Lucky number 11.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Did you think that in your late 30s, you would be married for this long? 11 years.
Yes.
11 years?
Yeah. I always envisioned myself getting married at a younger age. And I guess we kind of got married around the time frame that I thought that we would, right? But if I'm thinking about marriage, I'm thinking about long term. So 11 years is nothing compared to like a lifetime.
Well, okay. So when I was young, yes, I always thought about getting married young. But now that I'm in my late 30s, I'm like thinking back how we're married for 11 freaking years. Mm-hmm. It still kind of blows my mind.
It's literally a decade.
Yeah.
If you really think about it.
Wow. Okay. So we have a lot of experience in marriage, guys. And,
we've been through a lot.
Getting married on a budget is such a great topic because a lot of people... So for me, a lot of you don't know, or you do, that I'm a realtor. I sell real estate. And the number one question that I get is, should I get married first or should I buy a house first? And so what I want to talk about today is this marriage part where you don't have to spend $50,000 on a wedding.
And that's like the average usually for a lot of couples.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it normal to spend 30 to 50 grand?
Yes.
Like, why does it even cost that much?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, they have this expectation of having like this big glamorous wedding. And even then, like they're focusing more on like hosting their own wedding, if that makes sense. So it's like trying to have as many guests as possible, having like these huge bridal parties, trying to make it very extravagant, you know? And I feel like it's just, it's way too expensive.
Yeah. So for us, here's a secret. We spent $5,000 on our actual location for the wedding. Mm-hmm. And then once you include the dinner, it was like a total of $12,000. To me, that's one heck of a deal on a wedding. It's hard to find that price point, especially, when you have so many guests and friends and things like that, it starts adding up.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that you have to like try to plan ahead of time, and you have to kind of be at the same page, right? So I feel like that's a good way to test like how the relationship's going to be and how the marriage is going to be, because there's all these things that you have to plan for in terms of like how many guests you want, where you want to get married, the budget, who's going to pay for what, so I felt like we did a really good job with that. And I think that because we got married, we were probably one of the first people within our group of friends that got married. So
yeah, we were literally the first.
Yeah.
So I think I was 28 years old when I got married.
When we got married?
When I got married,
okay.
I was 28. Right. When you got married, you were 27.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, I was actually like, that's kind of later than what I wanted when I was in my young 20s thinking about marriage.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because now that I think about it, like I always thought that I would get married at 25.
Yeah.
But I thought we would have kids by 27.
Oh,
But in reality, when I turned 25, like I was just like, oh, like I'm not ready for marriage at all. Like I'm just starting my life right now, and I'm just like having fun and trying to start my career and like worrying about myself. Like, do I want to get married? Do I want kids?
Yeah. So that's why I say that, at that young age in your 20s, you really do want to think about getting married on a budget. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I would ever want to spend the 20 to 50 grand because that's a down payment on a home.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we took care of the wedding ourselves. That was
Right.
probably the biggest reason of why we got married on a budget. You know, we had to, because we had to take care of the wedding ourselves, right? I think I paid for the wedding, right? And then my parents, my dad especially, was saying, you know how it is with Asian parents, right? When they have a hand in the wedding, they want to put some money in, or they just have any type of responsibility, they always want to add a big guest list.
Yes, they want like hundreds
You know?
of people. They want you to invite these people that you don't really talk to, all these relatives, all these like friends of friends, like people that we don't know, but they're like, oh, but we need to like show them like that our son is getting married and is so successful, and like we just kind
I
of want to
think-
show them off a little bit, right?
I think that's so weird. That, you know, my dad was like, "Oh, I want to invite your uncles and aunts," and I'm like, "Who are these people? I've never met them in my life."
and families
You know what
can
I mean?
be so big.
So I get that they're proud of us and this big accomplishment, but at the same time, it's like, Dad, I have never met your grand uncle or your great uncle in my entire life, and you're expecting me to pay for this wedding myself,
Right.
right? So my dad was like, "Okay, I'll help you with the wedding if I can invite all these people and we do it here in LA." And then that's when I kind of got this light bulb, and I'm like, do I want to do the wedding in LA? Do I want to invite all these people that I don't know or never talk to? You know what I mean? Like that can easily rack up a $50,000 wedding.
Exactly.
Right.
And I feel for weddings, like it, from what I can remember, it's like kind of hard like to really, really, really enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
Because you're like constantly on the clock, right? Like everyone wants to take pictures with you. You have speeches set up. You have activities to help entertain the guests and stuff. So it's like if you have all these extra guests that you have to like entertain, like it would be so exhausting, right?
Right. So this is where we thought about how do we have a smaller wedding? Because one, I don't want to pay for all these people that I don't even talk to. You know, it's I'm young. I don't have that much
we didn't
money.
have the money for
You
it.
know what I mean? But I do want to celebrate with our friends and family that we do talk to.
Yeah,
So
and I think it was important to us, which was like a huge bonus because we didn't have this crazy huge expectation of like having a big wedding or like what the ideal perfect wedding would be like. So we were kind of just like on the same page about wanting to have a small intimate wedding, which
Yeah.
I loved, you know.
I feel like we had the perfect wedding for what we wanted.
Yes.
Because now we're like, okay, let's not do this wedding in LA. Let's go to Vegas and have a wedding. And this is, we actually thought about living in Vegas during that time.
Yep.
But we were still living in LA and another 10 years after that, right? So we had a destination wedding where we're like, let's go have it in Vegas. So maybe a lot of these family members that we don't talk to won't come.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to make it harder on people to come that we didn't want to be at our wedding.
Yeah. And it's not that we didn't want them there. It was just more of like trying to cut it down to a minimum so that we
just
wouldn't,
like you said, to make it more intimate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we had about 100 guests, right? It was easy, like 300 people.
Yeah, I think we had, so at the actual wedding ceremony, so I guess we were so strict about how many guests we can have because it was supposed to be set like within that package for 100 people.
Okay, yeah. So we have like 300 people we wanted to invite.
Right.
But when we found this location, and it was at the at
Mandalay
Mandalay
Bay.
Bay.
Yeah.
They have this really beautiful what is this called? Like it's not a gazebo, but it's almost like I guess it's a gazebo, but it's
I don't know. It's like outdoor. They have a few chapels, I believe, but this one was like outdoors. And we got married like in the summertime, so it's kind of hot. But they had these misters everywhere. There's like little rocks with like waterfalls coming down. So
There's a huge waterfall.
Really nice.
It was beautiful.
It was so nice.
And so that location, they only allowed 100 guests.
1,000.
Yeah, sorry, 100
100
guests
guests.
because you're under this bridge or this roof, and you can only fit so many chairs.
Right.
And so we're like, oh, this is perfect. Like we can tell everybody they only allow 100 chairs. And so I remember this part is when we told people about the venue. And then there's certain friends that we had that are at the like 90 to 100th mark, right?
Yeah.
And we had to tell them, sorry, we don't have, enough seats, I would love for you to come. But you can come to the party after, you know?
Right.
And I remember those friends, and they got so butt hurt that we didn't invite them. I think I've lost a lot of friends for not inviting people to our wedding.
Yeah, and I felt like we tried to be pretty accommodating, and even though we couldn't invite everyone to the ceremony because of like the capacity, we try to include them for like the reception.
Yeah. So what we did was we got the reception at a suite in Mandalay Bay, and we invited everybody. So like, honestly, if we crowded the hotel room, I would have been okay with it, you know,
Yeah.
but at least they could have been a part of that celebration. That's like the wedding cake, the dancing, the partying, right? All that stuff. And with the open bar type of thing. So when the friends who weren't invited to the ceremony, they got so sad and butthurt about it, they didn't even end up coming to the reception either.
Yeah.
And like, it sucks because when you have real friends and if they talk to you, like if someone talked to me about it and they're like, hey, I don't have enough money to invite you, but you can come to like, you know, the reception, I would be okay with that. You know, because it's real that you're talking to me. There's
Yeah.
other times when you have friends and they don't invite you to a wedding. You know what I mean?
So I guess the difference with that though is because like when like you're saying when you have close friends that you could talk to about that stuff, you don't really have to because they're automatically invited because you're already that close. But these people who got butthurt, they were people who we didn't talk to like as often,
Yeah.
or they were like friends of friends. Like they were always there at the same get-togethers, but they weren't the people that we were the closest to or talking to all the time. So they were the ones that got butthurt the most, and I was just kind of confused because like they understood the situation. But that also lets me know that like, oh, well, you're not that close for them to not understand, if that makes sense.
Right.
So you already don't have that relationship with them.
I mean, there's people that I talk to almost every day.
Yeah.
And I didn't invite, and I told them like, yo, I just don't, I can't. You know, I got like 50 cousins and uncles.
So for our wedding, we actually had our bachelor and bachelorette weekend that same time, right?
It was
like a few days before.
2 days before.
Yeah, 2 days before the actual wedding ceremony. So did we invite these friends to the bachelorette party too?
I mean, I invited everybody.
Yes.
It's just I couldn't invite. I just had to tell them, look, you're invited to this party and that party. I don't have space for the actual ceremony.
So we did try to include everyone in it to not make them feel left out, but I understand why they got butthurt. But at the same time, like I wish they would have understood.
It's gonna happen, guys. When you gotta cut people off of the list, it's gonna happen. And like Christine was saying, that if they get mad, it just means that you weren't close enough friends in the beginning, anyways. So it really doesn't matter. But just to put it out there, yeah, you are gonna lose some friends when you get married.
Yeah, and everyone says that too.
Yeah, it's tough. But I'm happy with that decision of having a smaller wedding. You know, like people don't understand that money is hard to come by. You know what? Now that I think about it, the people that got mad were people that actually didn't struggle as much financially. They have money.
So they didn't understand probably what the struggle was. And they probably were like, you can make it work.
Exactly.
Right?
There you go. There you go.
That makes sense.
You know, it got to the point where also, now this is one of my biggest regrets of our wedding. Okay. After the wedding, we also had a reception and we had a dinner. The dinner was at a Chinese restaurant.
Right.
And we had to reserve X amount of tables. And that's the most expensive part. That was more expensive than the venue. That was like $7,000, right? Just for dinner.
Wow.
And it was just for our family.
Yeah.
And people
our bridal
in our
parties.
and yes, our bridal party.
$7,000.
Yeah, it was $7,000. You know, so all the other people who came to our wedding, all of our friends, I had to tell them. I said, "Hey, dude, I'm paying for this wedding myself. It's $12,000 already, and I don't have enough money to invite all of you guys to dinner. So after the ceremony, you guys have to get your own dinner and then meet us back up at the hotel room to party for the reception." You know?
Yeah.
So I felt so bad doing that. And this is actually, my dad even helped us with some of that dinner as well, you know? So that's how expensive it can get. And that was my biggest regret, is not being able to afford to have a
Having
dinner
everyone.
for everyone. You know,
Yeah.
like that sucked, but it is what it is, right? Like that's all I can do. It's either invite nobody and have no wedding and just do something at the courtroom,
Right.
you know, and something really private, or do what we did. And, you know, I'm glad that all of my friends who were at the actual wedding, they didn't get butthurt about the
Yeah.
dinner.
I
They're
was
like,
trying to
that's
think.
fine.
I was trying to think back about how everyone responded to it, and I felt like everyone responded really well because they knew the situation already with the ceremony. So I think they felt like, oh wow, like we were able to go to the ceremony knowing that it was so limited. Like we get it if they couldn't.
I think they
the
had the
dinner.
time of their lives, because most people don't even want to go to a dinner. Like
True.
you feel like you have to go to dinner because you got invited and you're showing face, and not everyone wants to do that, right? And be there for so many hours.
Yeah.
Our friends got to skip the dinner, go party and drink on their
And
own,
go out and be crazy.
and then meet us up for more partying after. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that is the best case scenario, actually.
Yeah, so I feel like we balanced that part out with like trying to like be the best host for the bachelor and bachelorette party, and
Yeah.
then having our the suite be the reception with like unlimited alcohol, because your friends were like party animals. Like around that time, everyone was just like wanting to drink and party and stuff.
Dude, it was pretty bad. So I remember this one part in our reception that we're doing our dancing. You know, you, me, we did our
first dance?
Our first
Our
dance. I was gonna say
dance. Our first dance, yeah.
And then we did the cake and stuff. And then after that, I started, you know, smelling. People started drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started smelling like a lot of weed in the room. And I was like,
I don't remember.
I was like, what's going on? Who's smoking weed right now? I'm like, my parents are in the room, and got like my uncles
we
and
have like
aunts
my
in the
cousins
room,
and like little sister.
kids,
Yeah.
right? Little kids were in the room. I'm like, guys, dude, what are you
remember
doing?
that.
Like, everyone's still here, you know? Like,
Yeah.
So that's how much they partied.
Oh man.
But it was crazy.
It's so funny because going back to what you're saying, I feel like there was this one moment, and it probably could have been when we started like smelling people smoking weed, right? Where our families, like our parents and stuff, were like, all right, it's our time to head out now, like while the young people stay here and party.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because like it was a good balance for our families because they got to go out. It was Vegas. Like my parents like to gamble sometimes. Like so everyone just got to go and do their own thing rather than having to stay for like a full wedding ceremony and reception.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool, because like you said, everyone got to just be like, all right, I'm in Vegas. I'm going to go have fun on my own now.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the best part about having a destination wedding. I think when people have weddings in like Hawaii or another island or somewhere really far, they still can't really get away because there's not much to do but be there for that wedding.
Yeah, and there's usually like activities that fill out the whole trip, right? So I feel like
Yeah.
it was kind of cool. Like we just try to balance everything for everyone, which I kind of liked about it.
I think that there were some bad parts about our wedding and there were some cool parts about it. But, you know, with all of that in mind, do you still think that was a perfect wedding? Because I'm sure as you were younger, you had a dream for a wedding.
So you know, for me, I didn't have really crazy expectations.
Don't all girls do, though?
No,
You don't talk about it with friends?
not really. Like for me, I just knew that I wanted to get married.
You know what? It's because you're an ABG. And I don't
What do you
think
mean?
all your friends were ABGs. So all the girls who are ABGs don't gather around and be like, this is what I want for my wedding. It's more like, nah, remember that fight we got into?
No,
Remember that party we
you
went
have me
to?
confused with someone else. No, like I feel like I don't know. That was just not some. Well, okay. I mean, it kind of goes back to like I don't know. Just the way we grew up was a little different. We had to be more tough than like sit around daydreaming about weddings and stuff. But like for me personally, I didn't ever picture having this big extravagant wedding.
Yeah.
I didn't care about like I didn't have a vision basically of like what it would be like and wanting to like make it all glamorous. So for me, I just want to get married in my mid-20s, and I like the one thing I just envisioned was wanting to feel like a princess. So I definitely feel like I accomplished that with our wedding, because my one thing that I wanted for myself was just to have like the perfect wedding gown that would make me feel like a princess.
Yeah.
And I got something where it like poofed out. I don't know if you remember it. And it had like all these like jewels everywhere. And it was just so nice that I just felt like I was at a ball.
So if a wedding dress is that important to make you feel like that, you know, do a lot of girls spend a lot of money on dresses? Because I have no idea how much they
Yes.
cost.
Yeah, so they can be like thousands of dollars. But for us, because we're on a budget, we decided to rent my wedding dress because I felt like I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on a dress. Like, even though I would have loved it, right? I didn't want to spend that much money. It didn't make sense to me to get a dress that I would just wear for the day. And then that's it. Like, it's just going to go in the closet and sit there.
How do you feel about all the brides who have to wear multiple dresses during a wedding? Like, why?
I did have multiple dresses.
Yeah. Well, I get why you do, because it's a culture thing, right?
Right.
Like, you got a Chinese dress that was formal to wear during the reception, because we also have a tea ceremony, right? Where there's just a lot of culture stuff going on.
Right. And that was even on a budget too. Like, I went to Chinatown to look for a little
Well, I mean,
dress.
that's how you find a traditional Chinese dress anyways.
Yeah, and it was nice. I liked it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And then I had another dress to wear after like getting out of the wedding gown also, just so I could be more comfortable.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You had 3?
I had 3 dresses.
Why do women need 3 dresses for a
I
wedding?
don't think they need it, but I think because it's such a big event and it's just so special. Like, when are you ever going to have an event where you get to change into these different outfits and change your look?
But why would you change so much if you're like, I want to feel like a princess and I got this beautiful wedding dress that I'm only going to wear once while I get married? And like, why don't you just wear that for the rest of the night?
True. I mean, if I really think back to it, I probably would have just worn the wedding dress. But I think also because it was so big and it's so heavy and I also rented it, I don't want to mess it up, especially if we're like having a after party reception.
Damn. So you're literally wearing the wedding dress for like 2 hours.
Yeah, for a few hours. And then
That's insane, guys. So if you spend like
Yeah.
$5,000 on a wedding dress and it's 2 hours, that's ridiculous. You guys got to rethink your financial situation here.
But for some people, it's so important that they're willing to put the money aside for that dress. And I feel like a lot of brides actually get dresses where like it has an extra train. You're probably like, what is that? But
it's that thing that's behind you, and
yeah.
then your bridesmaid is doing this, like lion dance.
But then like there are also like the fitted dresses that you have, like, so it's underneath and then they have this like attachment and it's like a big fluffy part.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had that back then. And then it could make the dress like huge, like a princess gown. And then you could just take that part off. You have a nice fitted dress at the end of the night. So I feel like that would be worth it if a bride wanted to spend that much on that.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. But for me, because we rented the main wedding gown, I was able to fit a budget to get the other dresses. It was nice.
I think those dresses are crazy because you got to have all of your girlfriends, fluff your dress and do this stuff. And it's a lot. But now I want to really talk about how it was to choose our groomsmen and our bridesmaids, because I feel like that was also difficult. When you're this young and the first one in the group to get married, like I have like 10 really close friends where we talk and see each other every single day, but I don't have the budget to have 10 groomsmen.
It's kind of a lot.
And then to expect you to have 10 bridesmaids to fulfill that's hard. So I think what I did was, okay, I can't invite all of the friends to be a groomsman. It's just like, who's my best man? And then let's just invite my brothers to be the other groomsmen.
Yes.
Like, I just tried to make it easy that way. But I feel like my friends also got a little butthurt that I didn't invite them to be groomsmen. But it's just too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that was the hard part because for me, I had this group of girlfriends that I've been friends with for so long. And then they were automatically like, I think they knew that they were going to be bridesmaids.
Yeah.
So, but the one thing I really regret is that I had a new friend come into the group, and you know who I'm talking about, but we were like super close at that time. She was probably my closest friend, but I haven't known her. We haven't known each other that long. And then she got butthurt because I didn't invite her to be a bridesmaid. And it came down to like me feeling really bad because like she felt really left out and she kind of made me feel guilty about it. So I talked to my other bridesmaids about it. And I'm like, hey, should I just invite her to be a bridesmaid because, she's my friend, right? And that was the biggest mistake that I made because I tried to consider her feelings and I tried to include her. But she was already like so spiteful about it. And she came in starting drama with all of my bridesmaids. She like,
I don't even remember that.
yes, there was this huge thing that was going on, and she would go in and she would call my bridesmaids cheap, and then they would talk about trying to plan like the bachelorette party, and then
Oh, is this
you remember?
Is this why now your bridesmaids were giving me a hard time?
Yes.
Because of like it was just too much all at once.
Yes.
So all right, this is like wedding drama, guys. I
Oh
feel
my
like
gosh.
every wedding has drama, and I remember this part because I forgot what it was. I was asking your girls something privately without you. I think it was, I don't remember what I asked them, but it was something for you. That's what I remember. I asked them something for you, like, hey, girls, would you do this for Christina? I think this would be really awesome. And they're giving me a hard time about saying, like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, damn, dude, y'all being some bitches right now. Like, why are you guys being so hard to deal with? And then they got so mad that I said that. And they're like, why are you calling me a bitch? And all this stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not calling you a bitch. I'm just saying you're acting like one because you're making it so difficult. Oh, that was a nightmare, man.
Well, I mean, girls take the word bitch very, very, very hard. It's not, I mean, I would too, but I'm
not saying you're a bitch.
But if
You
you're
know what I'm
saying they're
saying?
being like a bitch, that they would take offense to it.
I don't know. If someone said you're being a dick, I'd be like, oh shit.
I don't
You
know.
know?
I feel like it's different. I feel like girls take more offense to that word than guys would do with the
I mean,
dick.
it's more weird for me to go to a girl and say, dude, you guys are being dicks right now. Can you stop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't say that. So I would say, hey, you guys are being like a bitch right now. So can you guys not?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What else am I supposed to say?
I mean, you probably could have said it in a lot of different ways.
Oh, no way, dude. It's way past that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter now. At that time, I get why they were upset about it because of that word, and I know how I feel about that word. But I felt like you tried to step in the situation because this was the most stressful thing throughout the entire wedding. It was this whole drama with the bridesmaids, and I kept having to jump in and I kept venting to you because I had to keep stepping in and trying to like get them to not fight and to try to get them to like chill and get along. And it was like, I feel like I was crying a lot because of this.
Now I remember, because
Yes.
I was like, you guys got to stop being a bitch to each other.
Yes, you were
And
telling
that's when
them to
they're
stop
like-
being bitches to each other. And two of them took offense to it. One really took it to heart where we're no longer friends.
She was okay. Even before that happened, when I told them to stop talking shit and all that stuff, one of your friends who was like your best friend at the time was like, you know what? I don't want to be a bridesmaid anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and
hold
then it
up.
became this other whole drama because of you stepping in. And
Yeah,
then they
now
all were
it's
like,
my
oh,
fault.
now we don't want to be bridesmaids. And it was just, it
It's
was
my
so
fault, right?
hard.
So here's what I was saying the whole time. It's like, whether I did something wrong or not and called people things, now, if they're really your friends, they will not drop out.
Yeah, and that was probably the hardest thing for me because I was like the one that was trying to like make everyone happy and try to get everyone to get along. And then like you stepped in because you saw how stressed I was. And then like it just blew up into this other thing. And like,
They could have easily said, look, I hate your future husband, but I'm still gonna be your bridesmaid. But instead they're like, nope, I'm not gonna be your bridesmaid anymore. And it's
Yeah,
like,
like, they
whoa,
all
are
just-
you guys? Now I got even more mad. Now I'm like, hold it. This now proves my point
Yeah.
of calling you. Why are you being such a bitch? Because no matter what, you should still be by your friend's side.
yeah. And I felt like because like we were one of the first ones to get married and because everyone was still younger, like I know back in the days people got married in their like early 20s, but like our times were different. Like,
Yeah, some of
times
the
have changed
some of
already.
the girls were like 25.
Yeah. So I think because like finances were one thing, so everyone was trying to figure out how to do things on a budget. And, you know, I did do that like when it came to like activities and like dresses and stuff like that. But then, you know, of course that was just always an issue. And I don't know. I just felt like everyone wasn't like in the right state of mind at that time. And it was like the first wedding for everyone. Like it was their first times being a bridesmaid too.
No one knew what to do.
Yeah, like the expectations weren't
So-
there, you know, but I felt like that tested my friendships a lot. And I still talk to some of the bridesmaids, like we're still close, but for the other ones, like our friendships just stopped there.
Yeah, it was weird.
And I know that happens a lot to a lot of people because when I talk to a bunch of people, like they'll say like, oh, they got ghosted from their bridesmaids, or yeah, they're not friends with most of them anymore, or like even the maid of honor and stuff. So I feel like because it's such a big event, and I was like far from a bridezilla, I would say that like I was pretty
No, we're keeping it pretty
about stuff.
chill. Yeah.
Yeah, but things happen, people take things personal, and I don't know, like you will lose friendships over it.
Yeah, there's always so much drama. So that's probably like that's not even a regret about a wedding. It's just it happens, you know. You're just telling people what needs to be done and what we need and things like that, and people take offense to it. All right, so now I kind of want to talk a little bit about the regrets of
Okay.
getting married so young, I guess, or just overall in like this part of your life. You know, I think what I'm trying to say is like there's certain things that we could have done with the wedding that could have been better, and some things that we did perfectly fine. And I think one of my biggest regrets, like I said earlier, was definitely not inviting everybody to dinner because we couldn't afford it.
Right.
Second was having a honeymoon right after we get married. Like I want to, if I had to do it all over again, I want to get married and then the next day wake up and take a plane on our honeymoon.
Is that what people usually do?
That's the funnest part.
Yeah, what?
I think that's a normal tradition, but most people don't do that.
Because they don't
But
have time. They have responsibilities.
most people do it within like the first week or two.
Okay.
You know, and I wish we did it all where it was just like the next day we could go.
You know what? I felt like maybe we didn't do that because we had other business ventures to deal with, but also because we just had our bachelorette party, and then we had one day of rest, and then we had our wedding ceremony, and then we had our after party reception.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to rest. Probably. We're still in Vegas.
I mean, so when we had our honeymoon, it was like maybe 3 years later.
Was it 3 years?
Yeah, we went to the Bahamas.
Oh, because we had responsibilities.
We had a
That was-
business. I just started a new business, but I think we could have spent some time and had a honeymoon first.
I felt like we couldn't because that's why we also rushed our wedding, because you had a business to take care of.
We didn't. So I mean, we had a timeline to have a wedding before a certain month, but also we did that like Chinese tradition where you know how your parents look at the Chinese calendar and they tell you what's the best day for you to get married, what's the best day for you to move into your new home, and things like that. And it just so happens that the day that we had to get married was in a short amount of time too.
So basically, our wedding anniversary and your birthday are a day apart.
One
so
day
it's your
apart.
birthday, next day is our anniversary. And yeah, that's definitely a regret that I have too. But because of the timeline, that was the best date.
It was the lucky number date on the
Yeah.
calendar that we had to do for the wedding.
But I remember constantly asking you for years and years and years. And I think I still do. And I'm like, hey, like, do you want to do something like for your birthday? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do to keep it separate from the wedding anniversary? Or like, we don't have to do anything for the anniversary if you want to just celebrate your birthday.
You know, at this age, I don't want to celebrate my birthday anymore.
But you should.
Even last year, we didn't really celebrate it. I think the last few years, we haven't celebrated it. It was more of like, let's go somewhere. Let's go
Yeah.
on vacation. So I rather hide from my birthday now and just go on vacation somewhere so I don't have to really celebrate it with people.
I mean, we still celebrate. It's just a
Yeah,
different
with
kind of
us.
celebration. Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like going to a trip and celebrating at a trip. I don't want to like have parties and like things like that.
Yeah. Which is okay.
So I'm just a different kind of person now. So my biggest regret is definitely not being able to go on the honeymoon after getting married, like right away.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, it's like you have your, like you said, the bachelorette parties, and then you get married. And then when you go on the honeymoon, it's like a month-long high that you have. you
Exactly.
know?
I was going to say that.
And it makes everything feel so special that I
Yeah.
think you can remember it a lot more 10 years later, you know? So, what were some of your regrets?
So I would say, yeah, my biggest regret would be not being able to accommodate everyone for dinner. But I think because of that, like, it could have easily been like how much if we try to accommodate everyone. That
Yeah.
would have been like a $20,000 to $30,000 wedding.
Yeah.
So that is my biggest regret. And but I also think that if we wanted to do that, that we would have had to wait to get married, because then we would have been able to have more time to like save up and be able to accommodate everyone.
Well, here's what we did. When we got married first and do it on a budget, we were able to buy a business,
Right.
right? And a few years later, we were able to buy a house.
Yeah.
So we did what was right for us and set up our foundation. You know, is a regret for you that we didn't buy a house until 3 years after getting married? So the first 3 years, we were living at my mom and dad's house.
You know, I actually didn't mind it.
3 years
all.
living at my parents' house.
Yeah,
Being married. That's crazy.
maybe it's because I have a good relationship with your parents and especially with your mom. Like we're super close.
I was also never home.
And you were never home. You were always working. We were both working, and luckily, like your business was right next to my work. So then the only time we really got to spend together was during a lunch
and dinners.
So I would come over and I would bring you food, and then we would have lunch together. But then you're also dealing with customers in between. So it's kind of like me trying to be there to help you.
Yeah.
While I was there and making sure that you're fed and everything.
This is probably the biggest regretful business I've ever done, which was a liquor store. And so I would have to wake up at like 6 a.m. to open up at 8 because sometimes I got to go buy inventory in downtown or another wholesale place before opening the store. And then I close a little bit after midnight. After that, go buy some more inventory at other places. So I'm talking about like from 6 a.m. to about 2 a.m., 7 days a week for 365 days out of the year, 3 years straight. Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that. I'm at the liquor store. And so I'm literally only home for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And when do I get to sleep within that time? I don't know. But we did that for 3 years. And that's why we lived at our parents' house. And, you know, I felt like it worked out that way because I wasn't around.
And it was close to work for both of us too. And then I do remember, like I would always come over during lunch to eat lunch with you, make sure you had food. And then after I get out of work, then I would come over and I would get food, or we'll cook something on like a little portable stove, right?
Yes.
In the liquor store for dinner.
So this is like our first year of getting married when I'm at the liquor store and she gets off work and I have this electric stove next to, you know, the cashier station, and we're cooking like, we got a rice cooker, we're cooking some lap cheung fan, some Chinese sausage rice.
We had like a ninja stove.
Right? Boiling some vegetables, and then we're eating dinner together, and there's customers coming in and out buying stuff because they just got off work.
Yeah.
And so it was a rough 3 years, but I'm glad that you stuck it through at my parents' house for those 3 years, and then we're able to buy a house.
Yeah, so I feel like we saved up a lot with that. And then I mean, just me being home with your parents, like it helped me and your mom to like bond and be closer too.
Yeah. So I do think that a lot of my clients now who are like, should I get married first or buy a house first? Everyone says they want to get married first, right? And then they'll call me back later and say, you know, a few months later and be like, you know what? I want to buy the house first. And I really love that because they tell me, I'm like, why do you want to buy the house first? You know? And they tell me it's because when they get married, they want to be able to have a place that they can go to after.
That makes sense, actually.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think having a house first would have been a sweet thing for us, but it didn't happen, you know? I don't regret what happened with that though.
Yeah, I don't either, because our first home that we had, it would have been a further drive, and I felt like I was making a lot of trips to the liquor store to like make sure that you're okay and help you take care of things and just to kind of look after you.
But we could have rented a home. Why didn't we rent a home?
I think we're trying to save up money
so we
can buy a home.
I think we're trying to save money to recuperate stuff from the wedding.
Yeah, and that's probably why we didn't go on our honeymoon right away, because we're like, we just spent our money on a wedding and everything else.
I couldn't close a liquor store for like a week either.
Well, that too. Yeah.
I mean, like that's mad money.
Yeah.
I think what I do recommend to everybody is, you know, you can really have a budget wedding, and then I do recommend you buying a home first, or at least within the first few years of being married, and don't waste it on renting, because I do have those friends who never bought a home within the first few years, and it made their foundation so much harder. You know, like one of the hardest things, I don't know, this is a little bit, I don't know what's traditional and what's not. Most people, when they first get married, they have a house and they have kids and stuff. And for us, we didn't have kids until 5 years after getting married.
Yeah.
Which is a long time.
True.
You know, and I think a lot of it was because we didn't have our own house, and then I had the business, you know. But when you buy a house, you build a foundation, and you're married, it's a step-by-step process. You can't just go into like, I have this dream home, we're gonna have kids here. Like, we started off with, we sold the liquor store. Now we can buy a house with that money.
Right.
And we bought a house that was so cheap, that was only a 2-bed, 1-bath, 700 square feet. And so we lived in it for about 2 years, and you got pregnant. And we're like, oh, where's the crib gonna go? This house is so small.
Yeah, we didn't have space.
And so when we sold the house, we made money off it. And now we have our dream life that started. 5 years later, we have our actual big home. Now you're pregnant. And it's like, how did you feel being pregnant 5 years after having a wedding? Like, was that too long of a stretch for you?
Well, yeah, because I feel like we wanted to start even earlier, and we actually did, until we had the miscarriage, right?
But that was still like 4 years later.
True. I think because we were just trying to do things
I know
in order, in a way.
Well, I know what it was. It was the first 3 years I had the liquor store business, and there's just no time. Right. And then so the year after I sold the business, I was like, we were both thinking about, we want to enjoy our time together more.
Yeah.
Now that we don't have the business, let's go travel, let's go do things.
Right.
So we spent a year going to Japan, Hawaii, and all these places that we've never traveled in our life. We went to the Bahamas, like all this stuff. We went to Europe, right? Oh no, that was later.
Yeah, that was after we got the house.
But, you know, that year we traveled before having kids.
Yeah.
That's why it took us 5 years.
You know what? Because we had to go back into like reality expectations, right? And we had to work right away. And then after those 3 years, once we like were grinding, then we got our house, and then we're like, oh, now we're enjoying this honeymoon phase finally.
Yeah.
And then that's when we're like, okay, well, we have our house now, and we can do things without your parents being next door, and we can go travel and everything. And I feel like because of those 3 years of grinding, like we didn't get a chance to experience all of that. And that's why it took so long.
Wouldn't that have been weird if we were living in my parents' house,
trying
married,
to have a baby?
And then we're like, hey, mom and dad, we're having a baby.
Right? It's like, where was this made? You know? Yeah, no. So we're trying to do things the legit way. And I feel like everything kind of just happened in order the way that it did. And yes, I feel like I wish we would have gotten pregnant, started the family, like that things were like successful when we first tried. But obviously we had the miscarriage. Didn't expect that. Didn't expect to be trying to recover and kind of like get through the emotional trauma of it for like 1 to 2 years later. And, you know, I feel like everything happens for a reason though. And
I think it's funny that you said that you wish you were trying for kids before the 5 years, you know? And for me, it's like, that's always what I wanted when I was younger. I wanted to have kids young. But after having who Leia is now 6 years old, I'm like,
gosh,
everybody, hold up. Don't have kids yet. Wait until the very last minute for you to have kids, because you want to enjoy your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then if we had her, like, say, I mean, it's weird to say, but like, what if we had them like 2 years before, right? Like when we originally planned, then they would be old enough to like be more independent. They would be doing their own stuff. Like they wouldn't be so dependent on me and like to just right next to me all the time, right? And we would probably be doing our own thing even more and probably not being as tired, right?
I mean, she would only be 8 years old. She's still gonna be attached to you.
That's true, but she's getting more independent now. She would probably be able to help around the house more, be able to help with like Enzo
She would definitely be cooking rice every day.
That's true. She would be helping with laundry.
I think she can do that now.
Washing the dishes.
Okay, hold on. She just turned 6 years old. What can we do for her to start doing stuff?
Well, I have her helping with laundry now.
What does she do with laundry?
Well, I mean, they help me load it. They help me put the soap, and then they help me put it in the dryer and stuff like that. So I'm still mainly doing everything, but I'm showing them how to do it. They can't do it on their own yet.
I think Leia can fold her own clothes now.
I tried teaching her that too.
Because I think I did that in elementary school. Oh, wait, but she's not in elementary school yet. She's in kindergarten.
Oh. No.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's still kind of young.
That's why I was saying if we had them like 2 years earlier, then they would be able to do more stuff.
But she can make rice right now.
That's true. Yeah, I have them help me with that too. But then again, realistically, if we did have our first child 2 years before Leia, we wouldn't have a Leia or an Enzo. So
What?
probably not a regret. Because it would be different babies, depending on the timing. Don't make me go into detail about science.
It would still be a Leia and Enzo.
No.
Just a different Leia and Enzo.
That's what I mean. Anyway, going off topic, what were we talking about?
Getting married on a budget, guys.
Very possible.
Yes.
Figure out your finances. I would say definitely figuring out your finances, being on the same page, like that's a good test of the relationship and seeing how the marriage is going to be. And I felt like we did pretty good at that part.
I think now I wouldn't mind having a wedding in our backyard. And then after partying in our house, I'd be like, all right, guys, go to bed. Go upstairs.
Yeah, you carry me up the stairs.
No, I feel like if we were living here in Vegas and we're getting married, we would still do something on the strip.
Probably. And I feel like a lot of people are actually going even more intimate than us with like getting married and stuff. So it's like going to the courtyard? No, courthouse. No, the courthouse, and just getting the certificate and then having a ceremony in their backyard, and like that's it. That's even more intimate and smaller than what we did. Yeah. So
and just have catering.
Yeah.
It's so easy peasy. It's almost just like a birthday party.
Yeah, and I think for us, like the main reason why we didn't want to splurge so much on a wedding is because you're like planning so much and you spend all of this just for one day, right? One perfect day. But then like all that money is gone.
Well, I never thought about that. I was just like, this is what I have and this is what we're going to do.
True.
You know what I mean? Like that was it.
But we could have struggled financially if we wanted to like put it on the credit card and like be in debt.
No, that's not how you do it. This is what I have in my hand and this is what we're going to spend. But I'm saying
that's what some people do. They're like, hey, just put it on all these cards. We'll just make it work and we're going to spend the next, I don't know how many years paying it all back. Right.
I think everything was cash, right? The venue was cash. Which included the wedding planner and then the photography and videography.
Oh yeah, so that
and
package,
the dinners.
Yeah, that package that we had at Mandalay Bay included all of that. There was the wedding planner, the photographer, like the pictures. They planned everything. They had the officiant. Like everything was just all set up already.
I think even when at the end of the wedding and we had to pick like how we wanted our photos and videos. They're like, here, do you want to buy this? It's $1,000. You want to buy this package? It's $2,000 to get all of your memories. And even then, I'm not like, here, swipe my credit card. It was just more like, hey, how much do you want to spend? And here's my debit card because we're paying cash for it.
I think we spent about like $1,000 on photos.
I think it was $1,000. Yeah, for the media assets.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a total of like $12,000 to $13,000 what we spent cash. And I highly recommend you guys always sticking with what you have. Don't go into debt for your wedding because you're also going to go into debt buying a home. You know what I mean? And your travels and your kids and stuff like that. Like you're digging yourself into a hole. And so make sure you guys spend wisely and everything can happen for a budget. Like our cheap little wedding was beautiful. It was such a nice place. I couldn't believe that venue only costed $5,000. Yeah. It looked like a $30,000 venue.
And it was nice, like not having to worry about finding other vendors. You know,
I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, it even included a florist too.
Yeah,
so
it did.
Just everything. So I mean, if you're on a budget, I would like recommend doing something like that. And if you get stressed easily trying to find like all these coordinators and stuff like that, like I don't know, this was the way to go for us for sure.
I loved it. I love the full package. So I hope you guys learned a lot about this.
And we're not saying that you don't have to splurge and spend a lot on your wedding.
You can if you want to. And if you're rich, why not?
But we're just saying that like you can still have a beautiful, extravagant wedding within budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Love and Rice Podcast. Make sure to follow us on YouTube and all podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio. We'll love for you guys to comment on the YouTube videos and Spotify videos as well. Let us know what topics you want us to talk about and how you've been liking our podcast episode. Also, please, if you are on Spotify right now, give us a rating, rate us, and give us some reviews. We love it. And we'll see you guys next time on Love and Rice.